Why is no one talking about the easiest foolproof way to make sourdough that doesn't require scales or any other fancy baking equipment? When I started making sourdough, I came across so many complicated methods that required very specific measurements, and to be honest, I was just not vibing with it. After I'd already waited 3 weeks for my sourdough starter to be ready, I was just ready to bake with it, so I decided to just wing it and see what happened. It ended up working, so here are my steps. Start by feeding a sourdough starter about 1/3 of a cup of flour and a bit less than 1/3 of a cup of water. Again, I don't use exact measurements, I kind of just make it up as I go, but you want it to be the consistency of like muffin batter. Then grab a rubber band and mark the jar. This is so we know when it's doubled in size. Pop the lid loosely on and let it sit for a couple of hours. When it's doubled in size, you want to add 1/2 cup of the starter and 1 1/2 cups of water to a bowl. Then you want to just whisk that together with a fork. Some people use a bread making whisk, but I don't have one, so I just use a fork. Then add 4 cups of flour, 1 cup at a time, whisking in between until you reach a shaggy dough. When you have your shaggy dough that's started to come together, you can put it aside and cover it with a tea towel, leave it to rest for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes has passed, you want to do our first stretch and fold. So if you wet your hands, this makes it a bit easier. The dough doesn't stick to you. You basically just want to pull each side of the dough up, give it a little bit of shake, and then fold it back over into itself and go around the whole bowl doing that. Then you can cover the dough, leave it for another 30 minutes, and repeat the stretch and folds again. You're going to do this 3 more times. After you've completed the final stretch and fold, you're going to cover it with a tea towel, leave it on the counter for 4 to 6 hours for bulk fermentation. It should have doubled in size when you come back to it and kind of have this stringy, bubbly texture to it. You're going to pour it out onto a floured surface, and this is when we're going to shape the dough. To shape the dough, we want to start pulling the edges into itself. You want to keep going around in a circle like that until you can't pull it in anymore and you feel a lot of tension. Then you can flip it over and kind of just spin it around and use your hands to shape it into a nice circle. I don't have a proofing basket, so instead I just place a clean tea towel in a mixing bowl and then place the dough inside of that. I cover it and then I put it in the fridge for overnight or up to 72 hours. Next morning, I get out my Dutch oven and I place it in my oven at 230 degrees to preheat. Once the oven's preheated, I want to flour my bench and then get my dough out of the fridge to score. I flip it out into the floured surface and then I just begin to score it with a razor blade. I normally just keep it simple and do a cross. Then place the dough in the preheated Dutch oven. Bake for 20 minutes covered and 20 minutes uncovered until it comes out looking golden and perfect. Then all that's left to do is to serve it with some delicious butter and enjoy.